Let's take a listen.
Yes, Your Honor. This conclude the imposition of death penalty and take it out of the hands of the jury. The basis of this is the pervasive media attention that this case has garnered. There are channels that are on a loop 24/7. It's all over social media, and it's not just a little bit. It's everywhere. We have people outside of the courthouse holding up signs and protesting. We have people online that have created false narratives, that they're flat out lying about what is happening in this courtroom. And I know that this court has given instructions to the jury, and I just don't think it's enough because this media attention has been so widespread. It is impossible for Tanner to get a fair trial in violation of the 5th and 14th Amendments and also in violation of the Texas Constitution. This case isn't just local. It's not just statewide. It's not national. There are international newspapers writing stories about it. And so with all of that media attention, our team has received death threats. Our witnesses have received death threats. Our client has received death threats. And so what we're asking the judge to do, what we're asking you to do, is to preclude the death penalty in this case, because that's the only thing that can remediate the publicity that they have. And the reason that we're asking that is, put yourself in the jury's position. You know that this case is international news. You know that this case is a hot topic. You know that this case has raised such passions that it results in death threats against the defense team. You know all of this. Now imagine you as a juror going to church on Sunday, and the person sitting next to me, or sitting next to you, says, I know you're on jury duty. How'd that go? You were gone for 5 weeks. You must have been on that case. I can't believe you did X, Y, Z. So, in taking away their ability to, sentence them to life without repercussions from society and from their friends and from the community, that is the only way that Tanner can get a fair trial in this case.
The court daily, even though it's not in the record, the court daily has admonished the jury in the jury room to stay away from media, to the point of last week, I didn't tell the lawyers this, one of the jurors asked me, is the case still getting a lot of attention? So based on that question, I am satisfied that the jury has been following my instructions to stay away from the media. Your request is denied. The jury is present. Are both sides ready for the jury?
Ready.
Defense? All right, let's go.
The best part of waking up, soldiers in your heart. Simon, please eat. Why aren't you eating this morning? Why aren't you eating? Why aren't you eating? Why? You gotta eat, buddy. You and Sawyer both on a diet now.
Everyone may be seated. Good morning. Members of the jury, the defendant Tanner Lynn Porter stands charged by indictment with the offense of capital murder, alleged to have been committed in Wise County, Texas on or about the 30th day of November 2022. To this charge, the defendant has pleaded guilty. The defendant has entered this plea, and the court hereby instructs the jury to find the defendant guilty as charged in the indictment. Your verdict must be by unanimous vote of all members of the jury. In deliberating on the case, you shall consider these instructions as a whole, and you must not refer to or discuss any matters not in evidence before you. Our law provides a defendant may testify on his own behalf if he elects to do so. This, however, is a privilege according to the defendant, and in the event he does not testify, that fact cannot be taken as a circumstance against him. In this case, the defendant has not testified, and you are instructed that you cannot and must not refer or allude to this fact throughout your deliberations, or take it into consideration for any purpose whatsoever as a circumstance against the defendant. When you go to the jury room, the first thing that you should do is select one of your number as your presiding juror, who will help to guide your deliberations and will speak to you here in the courtroom. During your deliberations, you must not communicate with or provide any information to anyone by any means about this case. You may not use any electronic device or media such as a telephone, cell phone, smartphone, iPhone, or computer, the internet, any internet service, or any text or instant messaging service, or any internet chat room, blog, or website such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, or X to communicate with anyone any information about this case or to conduct any
Still love you, MySpace, y'all.
At the conclusion of your deliberations, the presiding juror should sign the verdict form, and I'm requesting whoever the presiding juror is, if he or she will print their name beneath the verdict form and put your juror number next to the signature. If you need to communicate with me during your deliberations, the presiding juror should write the message, ring the jury call button on the wall, and give it to the bailiff. I will either reply in writing or bring you back into the court to answer your message. You are the exclusive judges of the facts proved of the credibility of the witnesses and the weight to be given to their testimony, but you're bound to receive the law from the court which is herein given and be governed thereby. And I sign the instructions as judge. The last page of the instructions contain the verdict form, says we, the jury, find the defendant, Tanner Lynn Horner, guilty of the offense of capital murder as charged in the indictment. The presiding juror should sign his or her name on that line beneath the verdict form. All right? You retire to your jury room. Buzz me when you're ready.
She talked, they are totally doing their job. I think that this is what they have to do. And they are doing it, and they did it.
Oh, this is just to find him, they just found him guilty. I see. So he just now today got officially.
Yes, sir. Members of the jury, I will now read you the instructions on punishment.
I see.
Closing arguments. Conclusions of closing arguments. You retire to your jury and begin your deliberations on punishment. Okay. Members of the jury, the defendant, Tanner Lynn Horner, has been found guilty by the offense of capital murder. Therefore, now becomes your duty to determine the punishment to be assessed against the defendant. Punishment for the offense of capital murder.
Oh, Simon, have some food.
In order for punishment to be assessed, two special issues are being submitted to you. Before answering these special issues, if you can, you will consider the following instructions. It will not be proper for you to arrive at your answers by luck, chance, or any other random method. Your answers must be arrived at by a full, fair, and free exchange of the opinions of each individual juror. Each of you must decide the case for yourself, but only after an impartial consideration of the evidence with your fellow jurors. Do not give up your honest beliefs as to the weight or effect of the evidence solely because of the opinion of your fellow jurors, or for the mere purpose of answering the special issues. Special issue number one. Whether there is a probability that the defendant would commit criminal acts of violence that would constitute a continuing threat to society. The prosecution has the burden of proving the evidence admitted before you in the full trial of the case, including evidence of the defendant's background or character or the circumstances of the offense that militates for or mitigates against the imposition of the death penalty and the law is submitted to you in this charge. Only if the jury unanimously answers special issue number 1, yes, will the jury next consider special issue number 2. Otherwise, the jury shall not answer special issue number 2. Special issue number 2, whether taking into consideration all of the evidence, including the circumstances of the offense, the defendant's character and background, and the personal moral culpability of the victim, there is a sufficient mitigating circumstance or circumstances to warrant that a sentence of life imprisonment without parole, rather than a death sentence, be imposed. You shall answer special issue number 2, either yes or no. You are instructed that you may not answer special issue number 2, no, unless you agree unanimously. You may not answer special issue number 2, yes, unless 10 or more jurors agree. The members of the jury need not agree on what particular evidence supports an affirmative finding on special issue number 2. You shall consider mitigating evidence to be evidence that a jury might regard as reducing the defendant's moral blameworthiness. You are instructed that if the jury answers
Good boy, Simon. Good boy.
warrant a sentence of life imprisonment without parole rather than a death sentence being imposed, the court will sentence the defendant to imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for life without parole. A defendant sentenced to confinement for life without parole is ineligible for release from the Texas Department of Criminal Justice on parole. The state has introduced evidence of extraneous crimes or bad acts other than the one charged in the indictment in this case. This evidence was admitted only for the purpose of assisting, if it does, in determining the proper punishment of the offense for which you have been guilty. You cannot consider the testimony for any purpose unless you find and believe beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed such other acts. Our law provides a testify that a defendant may testify on his own behalf if he elects to do so. This, however, is a privilege according to the defendant, and in the event he does not testify, that fact cannot be taken as a circumstance against him. In this case, the defendant has not testified, and you're instructed that you cannot and must not refer or allude to this fact throughout your deliberation, or take it into consideration for any purpose whatsoever as a circumstance against the defendant. You have heard evidence that the defendant made an oral and recorded statement on December 2nd, 2022, and on December 7th, 2022. If you find the defendant did make the statement, you may consider that statement against the defendant only if you resolve a preliminary question in favor of the statement. An oral recorded statement by a defendant made as a result of custodial interrogation may be considered against the defendant only if before the statement, but during the recording, 1, the defendant was warned that he has the right to remain silent and not make any statement at all, and that any statement he makes may be used against him at his trial. Any statement he makes may be used as evidence against him in court. He has the right to have a lawyer present to advise him before and during any question. If he is unable to employ a lawyer, he has the right to have a lawyer appointed to advise him before and during any question. And he has the right to terminate the interview at any time. And 2, the defendant knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily waived the rights set out in the warrant. Therefore, you may consider any statement you believe the defendant made on December 2nd, 2022, or on December 7th, 2022. Only if you first all agree that the state has proved, beyond a reasonable doubt, that before the statement, but during the recording, the defendant was given the warning set out above, and knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily waived the right set out. If you do not find that the state has proved these things beyond a reasonable doubt, you must disregard and not consider for any purpose any statement the defendant may have made. If you do find the state has proved these things beyond a reasonable doubt, you may consider the evidence that the defendant made the statement and give that evidence whatever weight you believe appropriate. In deliberating on this case, you
shall consider these instructions as a whole, and you must not refer to or discuss any matters not in evidence before you. You must not consider nor mention any personal knowledge or information you may have about any facts or persons connected with this case which is not shown by the evidence. You shall not consult law books or anything not in evidence. You are charged that it is only from the witness statement that the jury is permitted to receive evidence regarding the case or any witness therein. And no juror is permitted to communicate to any other juror anything he or she may have heard regarding the case or any witness from any other source other than the witness statement. When you have arrived at your answers to each of these questions, you may receive the attached form provided as instructions. Any further communication with the court must be in writing, signed by your presiding juror through the bailiff. Do not attempt to talk to the bailiff, the attorneys, or the court regarding any question you may have concerning the trial of the case. You are the exclusive judges of the facts proved, and the credibility of the witnesses, and the way to be given to the testimony that you vow to receive the law from the court which is here given, and be governed thereby. And I sign the instructions. The last 2 pages of the instructions contain the answers to the special issues. Special issue number 1, whether there is a probability that the defendant would commit criminal acts of violence that would constitute a continuing threat to society. There are 2 possible answers. We, the jury, find the defendant unanimously beyond a reasonable doubt that the answer to special issue number 1 is yes. Or, we, the jury, have at least 10 jurors with a reasonable doubt as to the matter inquired about this special issue and find that the answer to this special issue is no. Either one of those is the verdict of the jury, presiding juror should sign the appropriate verdict form. Only if you answer yes to question number 1 unanimously will you answer special issue number 2. Otherwise, you will not answer question number 2. Special issue number 2, whether taking into consideration all the evidence, including the circumstances of the offense, the defendant's character and background, and the personal moral culpability of the defendant. There is a sufficient mitigating circumstance or circumstances to warrant that the sentence of life imprisonment without parole rather than the death sentence be imposed. Again, there are 2 possible answers. Will the jury find the defendant that the answer, unanimously find the answer to the special issue number 2 is no, or we, the jury, have at least 10 jurors that agree the answer to special issue number 2 is yes, and find that the answer to this special issue is yes. The presiding juror should sign his name on the space beneath the appropriate verdict form. Mr. State. Thank you, Your Honor.
It's been a heck of a month. I want to thank you up front for being so attentive and giving us your time away from home, away from your families, away from work. We appreciate that. The way it works today is I've got a few things to say. The defense will have a few things to say, and then I will finish, and you will get the charge of the court that the judge just read you. I'm not going to go through all the evidence in the case. I don't have enough time. The judge gives me an hour, and then I get the hook, so to speak. But I do think there are some things that are important, and this is the number 1 thing. That's what I think is most important out here. This is what's most important. This is what we're. Picture sat in my office for months. I looked at it every day.
I'm going to sign his appetite stimulant in. Okay.
On those days, why do I get up?
Okay.
Why do I keep doing this? And this picture was taken, she didn't know she only had 4 days. When that picture was taken. When that picture was taken, I didn't know that 6 days after that, I'd be talking to my sheriff. And you heard from him, a former Texas Ranger, a fairly grizzled veteran of law enforcement, that I'd be standing there with him and not a dry eye between us. I knew then that I would be here in front of you. But why are we here? We're here for her. We're here for her memory, her voice, a little bow on her head, smile on her face, love in her heart. That's why we're here. She can't see justice. We're here for her. When you all got qualified and went through the whole process, talked about a lot of things. And one of the things that I think we talked about is the death penalty. And a lot of people are reluctant, and you should be. And it should be used in only the most extreme cases. Those cases, intentional, cold-blooded, planning, premeditation, victims that can't help themselves, children. Cases where the victim is sexually assaulted prior to their death. Cases where there's no mercy shown. Cases like this. This is what, and the reason why Texas keeps the death penalty here. This is why. This is the type of case. And I'm going to tell you that Tanner Horner is proof why parents hug their children a little tighter. He's proof of why children are nervous to go play outside. He's proof of why there's evil in society. We can never turn on. Now, 2015, May 23rd, Athena, she was born.
Out of here. Come here, buddy.
18 days from today, she turned 11. 18 days. If you remember on OPEC, we talked a lot about past tense. And I'm not even trying with the glasses anymore because my eyes are smoked after this trial. We talked a lot about wood, we talked about past tense. And I think it's important, we've heard a lot about people's past. But I think it's important to talk about the good. You know, when we talk about Athena, I feel like we want to talk about when she would have graduated. She would have been a Paradise Panther class of 2033. She would have celebrated her birthday party in 18 days. And I can promise you, there would have been an overload of pink. That's all we would. Okay. The other questions we look at is the future. We look at, you know, when you look at it, you ask yourself, you know, who would she marry? Who would be her first boyfriend? Real boyfriend. You know, some things that I thought about is what kind of shoes would she wear under her wedding dress? Those things are important. Who would she marry? Right? What kind of job would she have? That's what's important. Her future. And the fact that Tanner Horner cut that short. Brutally cut that short. So that's why we're here today. I tried to do all this by memory. It just doesn't happen. I've been here in 5 weeks now. It just doesn't happen. So, the big thing here is this case is going to require a tough choice. We all know this. But the right thing is often the right choice. Now, we're taught as baby lawyers, we're supposed to get up here and bring all the fire and brimstone. And I can assure you, I can generate some fire and brimstone. But this isn't the case for it. I can't do any more or say anything more than what you've already seen on that screen. There's nothing I can do. There's no amount of fire and brimstone. There's no amount of jumping up and down and being like that could ever come close to what you've already seen. And I'm not even going to try. The evidence in this case, I'm not going to go through it because it is massive. But the big point of all of this evidence.
You can hear all the people sniffling in the crowd in the court. I wonder if those are jurors or family or both. crying.
If you start at the beginning, you know the facts, you heard the facts. When I came up here and opened it, I told you I was gonna put you as close as you could be to actually being there. And I did not lie. In this case, the evidence, you know, we talked about the worst of the worst and the cases that like this, cases that have planning or premeditation. Don't discount the fact that somebody decided to cover up the camera an hour before, 2 days in a row, on exactly the same road with 2 different locations with 2 little girls that were there. You saw the videos. My suspicion is those Huffman girls would have been first. The parents hadn't come out. They were first. Only when that didn't happen.
That's crazy to me to think, really? Like he was really gonna try to, y'all think that one house he went to and he was like, hey, are y'all's parents home? And they went and got their parents and they came out like, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, really? He really? That's crazy, dude. If he was really like, if that, like he was in, it's like on a mission to abduct little girls. Like the whole drug thing does make more sense. Like he was smoking weed on the job or something. That makes a hell of a lot more sense, dude. Like I don't know, man. It's hard for me to fucking think that somebody is capable of like really like, I gotta get me one of these girls, man. One of them, I don't care which one I'm getting. Like that is insanity compared to like he's covered the camera up and then he, I don't know, maybe though, dude. I don't know, dude. Fuck. Oh my god.
So the evidence speaks for itself.
Dude, if he's
You know,
really like that,
when
then
you talk
maybe
about-
the death
talk
penalty
about-
is. Wait, I don't know, man.
Planning, it's not all just pre-planning. It's the understanding of what you're going to do after. You know, for somebody that is having some form of catastrophe and inability to think or solve problems, out of all the random roads you could have chosen to go and sexually assault Athena, you drive right to it. You know the road, you know what's going on, you know the bumps, you know what's there. You don't pick some random road. You go to where you know it's secluded. That's planning. That's not somebody having a catastrophe and doesn't know where they are.
Not necessarily, dude, because he's a delivery driver, dude. He knows that. He knows the roads and shit. He knows what roads dead end. He knows what, I mean, like when you deliver shit for a while, you start to learn the area. So I don't know. It doesn't really prove much.
Okay. So but we know what he wants. We know because you heard it.
Judge, can we approach?
Oh, the fence is approaching where they got a problem with something. Oh, they're all at the bench now. It's kind of insane the amount of effort that the defense, the taxpayer, is putting in to like defending this guy and the amount of effort that they're.
Can all the members of the jury see the board?
It's a political thing, right? It's because they want to like do their best and then make a name for themselves as being the lawyers that Tanner Horner's public defenders. Right? Like they're trying to make a name for themselves, probably.
And we know what's coming.
It's not for Tanner, it's for them.
Dana didn't know what was coming. He knows what's coming. That's not, guys, that's not the look of someone who doesn't have a plan, doesn't have a motivation, that hasn't thought this out.
I don't know, that's reaching.
That's the look I'll put it.
He's showing him a picture of him driving the truck, but
About the evidence, you know what happened. I'm not going to go over that. A couple of things here that I think are important. I talked to you about DNA, and I think DNA is important. The only acceptable answer in this case is that Tanner Horner That's the only acceptable answer. And that's not the answer we have. Period.
Why couldn't they exclude
It's
him?
not that, well,
Like, why can't he be excluded from the DNA? I don't understand that part. If they can't say his DNA is there, how can they say his DNA might be there? Is it maybe? I don't get that part. Is it a broken strand of DNA or something? What is that? How do they only know it's a male DNA? Does anybody know?
Is you a my constituency? My constituents.
Oh man, I can't. No help here. That's okay.
we found some DNA, it was his, but, maybe it's not enough.
I don't get that.
It's like when Dr. Ryan got up there and said,
Not enough.
well, he's not a pedophile. It only happened one time.
Yeah, that was a little interesting too.
I beg to differ with that.
That was a little interesting
Now-
because he's now got his fucking friend. When he was 10, he was like getting with him when he was like 7, apparently. That was some bombshell testimony yesterday because that dude was a surprise witness, and Tanner was like trying to like fuck his cousin when they were kids, dude. He had him suck his dick, bro. And then he like tried to stick it in his butt, dude. Yesterday's testimony was like, what just happened? I needed a warning before this happened. I didn't know I was like watching an audible porn.
Talk about the murder and what happened. You guys heard it. And I don't want anybody to ever forget what kind of warrior that little girl was.
So
I don't know
Homie had
anybody
tendencies.
could have withstood what she withstood over and over again. I don't know anybody that could have withstood that. He can choke her, he can beat her, he can do it over and over again. But what do we know? We know the end result was right here. This is what it took. That's what it took.
It's kind of
To beat the life out.
Wait, dude, hold up. This dude just placed Tanner's dirty shoes on the desk with nothing underneath them. What? Isn't that like a biohazard? I don't get it. He's touching them with his bare hands too. Like if those shoes were used to stomp a little girl's life out, isn't that like they didn't wash them? Did they? They're evidence. Why are you touching them with your bare hand? What is going on right now? That's disgusting, dude. Isn't that weird that he would just grab them and lay him on the desk?
And I think that is key to this entire case. If the facts were not bad enough, if the sexual assault wasn't bad enough, the level of violence that one person can inflict on a child,
It takes away,
including
dude.
stomp.
It takes away from the impact because he didn't like act like they were tainted. You know what I mean? I don't know, kind of. Like if those were used to stomp a little girl to death, I'm pretty sure they got like dried up blood on them and shit. Maybe actually even feces because he said there was poop in the back of the truck and vomit. And you're touching those with your hands and not even like acting like they have anything on them. Kind of strange, dude. Yeah, they put gloves on when they touch weapons in cases oftentimes, but not the stomping shoes.
Them.
Like, look at this shit. Look at this shit. Am I tripping right now? He's just grabbing these shoes.
With a pair of shoes.
They had mud on them and dirt and blood, and he's just.
And I wonder where that tread-like print came from anymore. Because we know.
I'm in shock. That's the first time I think I've ever seen in court somebody pick up someone's shoes that were used to stomp a little girl out, and they're like, "Oh, we're all dogging them." Interesting.
Now, like I said, the defense is gonna get up here after me. They're gonna have some things to say for it. That's how it works, okay? But what I anticipate is gonna be a continuation of what you've already heard. His brain's broken somehow. He's got all these conditions, he's got all these ailments, all these things. He may have some of those. Apparently, according to Dr. Young, he even got both teeth. We even got the lead paint guy. Now, I don't know about the lead paint guy. I don't know if it works or not. I don't know if the little homemade zapper works or not. I honestly don't know. But what I do know is,
What do you mean, you fucking
you're going to come in
retard?
here and try to convince us that somebody has all this lead in their system that's causing all the problems. Why do you test anybody else?
Huh? What do you mean?
I mean, if you want us to believe you and all this stuff's going on, why don't you test the other people in the house? I don't think you want to know the answer. That's why you don't do it. So we get up here, it's going to be a lot of talk about second chance. There's going to be a lot of talk about
You've got a lot of legends on, so.
baby mercy. There's going to be a lot of talk about, his deficits and disabilities and things of that nature. So let's remember this. Everything they're telling you is an excuse. You know, I know it's an excuse because it took 6 or 7 experts and $500,000 to come up here and tell you it's not an excuse.
They actually spent,
That's how you know.
dude, they actually spent $500,000, the taxpayers of Texas, for his defense, dude. $500,000, dude. Isn't that crazy? That you can get that good a defense? Public defender? I bet they wouldn't spend that much on his ass in California. Shit.
If you've got to work that hard to try to prove that
I doubt
something
it.
an excuse, we know what the answer is. They're trying to get you to excuse his conduct. They're trying to get you
You know what I'm
to
saying?
be less
I don't think
angry
so.
or less blameworthy on somebody for their conduct.
They'd make that dude pay for a lawyer somehow. They'd figure it out. They make him want to, at least.
I submit to you the truth, the facts and circumstances are what's most important. What he did is most important. Now, in looking at all of this, if you want mercy and you want somebody to consider giving you life when you gave no life here, when you gave no mercy here, what does it start with? I like to think it starts with the truth. I like to think it starts with not lying. I like these things to start with, if you have experts and you're being interviewed, not continuing to fabricate stories, not continuing to lie, not continue to try to cover, not continue to try to shade this or change the narrative. I think that the difference between wanting mercy and earning it are two separate things.
It's not mercy, though.
So-
That's not mercy. Mercy is putting him on death row, actually. Mercy is putting him on death row. And the expert witness came in when he talked about how they put them in different areas depending on what their levels are, level 3, level 2, 4, 5, they talked about all that shit. He said himself that he would be under much more regimented structure in death row. And that'd be good for him because he needs that. And it's softer in there. He wouldn't be surrounded by the other prisoners, and they can put 2 and 2 together. That if he's surrounded by the prisoners, he's going to get shanked way before he's going to get killed on death row. So, and he'll be much scarier in there than being on death row. Like, he probably wants to be on death row too. I can imagine. But I mean, he can't just. I guess he could just ask for it, but maybe he's scared that if he asks for it, they won't give it to him. Because that's happened to somebody before.
Now, what you've heard for the past 2 weeks is that the person driving that vehicle, you can see it right here, this person right here driving this vehicle. You've heard for the last 2 weeks about every form of ailment one could possibly have. And you heard about the last 2 weeks how that person can't cope, has stress, has the inability to do basically anything on the earth whatsoever, that essentially is incapable of doing anything. If you have any doubt about that, watch the 8 minutes of this video right here, from when he pulls in to Athena's driveway until he covers up the camera. If you have any doubt about somebody's ability to do, to participate, and be out in the world, watch that video.
I mean,
because it's real clear. That's an individual who knows what they're doing. That's an individual who's hunting. That's an individual who's looking around and understanding what's around them. That is an individual who is absolutely lethal. That's an individual who targeted somebody, found somebody, tricked somebody, got him into the vehicle. You all saw when he took his hand and he put it over her mouth. He knows what's coming. You all saw it.
I see that.
Right here. You all saw it right here. Bungee cords. Trying to tie somebody in. You all saw it.
Oh wait, what? Bungee cords are ready?
This is not an individual that's on some form of stress-fueled catastrophe. And the cocaine
I didn't see it.
nonsense,
The bungee cord thing.
just another lie. Just another lie. But guess what? When you know that you've been caught covering up the camera, when you know you're being caught, what do? You come up with another lie that fits your narrative. That's what you do.
How soon did
And
they?
that's what's happening in this case.
Why didn't they
Lie
protest
on
him?
lie on lie.
Didn't they get him like days later? Oh, he was too late.
This person driving this vehicle, cool, calm, and obviously, you know, lethal. So, are you going to believe what you hear up here, that this person is basically can't even get up in the morning? Or are you going to believe what you see and hear?
I mean, no, they weren't saying he couldn't get it. Everybody was saying he shouldn't have been in that.
The only sentence in this case
That-
is justice.
He shouldn't have had that level of
He's
responsibility.
answering those two questions. Yes and no.
Because
Just go.
you didn't have like the something. They have something. They shouldn't have that job for sure. Dude, I really think that they wouldn't have cut this dude off of Social Security, which in turn cut him off of his medical coverage. He might have kept getting some help. It would have definitely been more likely. You know, apparently he had just got back on his medication 2 weeks prior or some shit though. His grandmother testified to, right? But was he not taking it? Was it that's not really long enough for some medications to even work, though. That's SRIs.
I do want to start by echoing what Mr. Stanton said.
I don't think there is a
about it
medication
is
for
it's something
pedos,
you
though.
back to-
That's the problem.
Didn't really want to be here,
There needs to be.
but if it was your civic duty, you would do it. And I appreciate,
Why isn't there a medication for pedos? I mean, I know you can chemically castrate them or whatever, but why isn't there? Is that what chemical castration is, or is that where you like they use chemicals to burn their dick off? I don't really know what that is. Chemical castration. Or is it just like they change their biochemistry so that they don't get a boner or something if they're not horny? It's like the opposite of aphrodisiac. Like saltpeter, I think is one.
You're all showing up every day, attentive, punctual. It's hard to pay attention to everything. I know we put on a lot. And not every jury does that, frankly. You've all been really impressive, and I appreciate it. Now, you already did the first part. Bringing the verdict pleads guilty to capital murder, according to his plea.
That's too soft spoken, man.
That means he will spend the rest of his life in prison.
I'm just gonna fucking whisper to you guys. Is that cool?
The prosecutor gave you the list of different charges. Whether or not that gets a death penalty is not about comparing different capital murders. It's not about whether comparing what happened to Athena to mass murder, which is a murder of a police officer or a judge or anything like that, and which is worse. We've already told you that Texas law is always satisfied with life without parole for a capital murder. In this case, any case, the worst case you can imagine. We talked about what you would do in the punishment phase is different than the fact-finding phase. It's different than that field innocence phase. I told you that it's going to be your individual moral judgment. Now I want to point out to you in your punishment instructions, the judge included some language in here, just what we told you before. Each of you must decide the case for yourself, but only after an impartial consideration of the evidence with your fellow jurors. And when we talk about what deliberating means, we're attorneys. If we meant for you to argue, to fight, to berate each other, we know what those words are. The judge put it an impartial consideration of the evidence with your fellow jurors. But he also added, do not give up your honest beliefs as to the weight or effect of the evidence solely because of the opinion of your fellow jurors, or for the mere purpose of answering the special issues. The special issues are how we decide whether or not Tanner gets the death sentence. I am completely satisfied that all of you took your oath from me. Now what that means, and I'm only attacking a special one, is that you have to apply this, whether there's a probability that the defendant would commit criminal acts of violence that would constitute a continuing threat to society. And Susan and I explained to each one of you when we talked individually that this is where that individual moral judgment comes in. That you're going to define what these terms mean. What a probability is. What a criminal act of violence is. What continuing is. And that would cost you a lot of cases to suggest.
Baby, oh shit. That landed right on my toenail, dude. Shoo. Okay, it's going away. My big toe, at least. Yeah, strong toe. Fuck.
That could be ongoing for continuing. Acts of violence could be something, assault, things like that. But that's ultimately going to be up to you. We did talk about society being prison, a more secure society than any of us live in day to day. I'll get back to that in a minute.
Wait, what?
A more secure society than any of us live in day to day.
What does that mean? A more secure society that any of us live in from day to day? I don't even know what that means. What is that? Yeah, okay. A prison's more secure, meaning you don't have to worry about the zombie horde coming in and getting you because it's very fortified. They're not getting in, just like you're not getting the fuck out, and you're in there with a different zombie horde that wants to kill you. So what? I don't understand what he's saying. Secure. The judge is even looking at it and like, what are you saying right now?
I'll get back to that in a minute. But remember, this proof has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. I told you before I gave you the sample, all that language is still here. Prosecution has the burden of proving that the answer to special issue number 1 is yes, beyond a reasonable doubt. Frankly, they spent their 2 weeks proving the case he pled guilty to, talking about lying and wasted resources. They didn't put on any evidence that Tanner Horner is going to be a continuing threat to society in prison. Nothing.
Well, no, of course, because
Your instructions are you may not answer the special issue number 1.
the threat's going to be against him, right?
You may not answer the special issue number 1 yes unless you agree unanimously. You may not answer it no unless 10 or more jurors. We went over that. 10, 11, or 12 answer the no. But I just read to you, you're not to give up your individual moral judgment. That's what you need to bring back to the court. So if you don't meet that 10, you don't meet that 12, that's fine. The judge knows what to do. We've already told you, you leave that blank, have the foreperson sign it, and the judge will take care of it. There's no mistrial. There's no hung juries. This is capital punishment and it's different. I do want to talk a little bit, even though Tanner did plead guilty, I do want to talk a little bit about the prosecutor's case. He told you his theme was lying. Brought it up again. There's nothing about lying on here. Frankly, go back to creation, lying was humans' first reaction to getting caught doing something bad. Deputy Amy handled every piece of physical evidence in this case, handled every photograph. She did something wrong, and she lied, and she lied again, and she lied again, and made it all worse. This isn't about lying. Ranger Espinoza told you he lies as an interrogation technique. He lied in this case to get the information he wanted. This case isn't about lying. You don't get the death sentence.
That's a good point, why are they allowed to lie? Why is Tanner allowed to lie? They're allowed to lie to Tanner. Why isn't he allowed to lie? What the fuck is that shit? Huh? That's a good point, dude. Motherfucking cops. Because there's like people will be like, no, it's entrapment. No, it's just saying the cops allowed to lie to you all he fucking wants, dude. All day. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do all that for you. I'm gonna do it. You just give me the information. Heck yeah, thank you. See ya. See you in court.
Lying.
Cops, man. Can't even trust.
There's a thing with our experts. Every one of them, they ask them about insanity. Tanner pled guilty. We didn't raise the not guilty by reason of insanity defense. That was a waste of time. They argued that Tanner wasted resources. But they played you that December 17th. Now, had I been his attorney on that date, I would have wanted to be there. I don't think it's right that you interrogate somebody after they have an attorney appointed for them, or when they're asking for an attorney. But they did it anyway, and what he did was offer to plead guilty, to plead no contest, to accept the minimum of life without parole. And he wanted out for Christmas, and they mocked him. He went out for Christmas with his son, and they made fun of him. Like that wasn't reasonable. He could have been out that day if he'd had cash. He had a bond. Him going home for Christmas was not unreasonable. Beginning a negotiation with an offer and an ask is what happens every time. Most cases in America don't go to trial. They're pled out. Now the answer can be, no, we want you to plead guilty. No, we're not going to agree to a lower bond. That's what negotiation is. Frankly, if you go to buy a house tomorrow, you're going to make an offer of what you're willing to pay for it, and you're going to ask for the refrigerator, or for closing costs, or for something else. And the other party may say no, and you may still end up buying the house. This case could have been over in December of 2022. No one took it seriously. I don't even know if it went to the prosecutors. Definitely didn't get to a judge. That wasn't ridiculous. Now, yeah, you've seen his videos. Everything Tanner does is off. So maybe they didn't take him seriously because when he made his offer, he sounded weird. Oh, of course we're not going to let you out for Christmas. He could have been out that day. $1.5 million bond. It's America. If he had cash, he was Milwaukee. So to mock him for it is frankly, it's ridiculous. I deal with a lot of clients that don't know how to negotiate. That's why the attorney should have been there. The other thing that's kind of frustrated me in this case is and I hate to belabor it, the kind of the misrepresentation of some of the evidence. Going back to the medical examiner's report, and you have all these reports. So if you're interested in any of them, you want to look at it.
But actually, the problem with that though is him saying that he was going to give everything and whatever. Like, was he going to give his statement before or after he got to go home for Christmas? Like, was he going to trust them? Or maybe he could put something in writing or something, but like what, like if his story wasn't good enough for them, that he was trying to get some kind of lesser charge, this blow story or whatever, and that's probably what it was. And they weren't willing to take the blow story. They think they got him on some more, and they ended up getting on some heavier shit probably.
Medical examiner testified and put in her report, the external genitalia, anus, and perineum are unremarkable. No trauma is appreciated on the vagina, or the vaginal labia, or within the vaginal wall. The vaginal hymen is present, intact, and unremarkable. No trauma is appreciated within the anus or the perineal skin. Prosecutors and medical people are allowed to tell you that evidence of sexual assault in a medical examiner's report is proof, but absence of it is not disproof. That's illogical, but that's how that is. No fractures were palpable within the facial bones. No fractures anywhere in her body. The other thing that isn't in her report, but she testified to, was that her autopsy tech did the DNA, the swab for the DNA. She testified here that her tech swabbed inside and out. There are no swabs of inside the cavities. There weren't separate swabs. Why that matters is when you actually read the DNA reports, and I'm only going to bring up 3 of them because that's all that really mattered. We have a lot of reports that get DNA on his own clothes, whatever. Starting with this April 19, 2023 report. Casada testified to it. She had to do it within 90 days to see if this was a sex assault case or not. The phrases epithelial cell fraction and sperm cell fraction don't mean what you think they mean. Tells you right in this report. Casada testified to it. Epithelial cell fraction could contain semen. Sperm cell fraction can contain skin cells. The notations of epithelial cell fraction and sperm cell fraction are for sample tracking purposes only and are not intended to indicate the source of the DNA. This April 2023 DNA analysis, the likelihood ratio indicates support for the proposition that the suspect is excluded as a possible contributor to the profile. So this first DNA sample excluded, it was someone else's DNA. They also put in here, remember Casada testified to this, and I think Ferreira too. The only way to figure out if a sample is semen is to look under a microscope for sperm cells. They didn't do that. This first report in April 2023 tells them, please note, that no testing to confirm the presence of semen was conducted on the vaginal swabs. If testing to confirm the presence of semen is needed, please contact this laboratory for instructions. That's how you would have figured it out. Nobody did that. Then they come back with a supplemental report. This update is not due to an error in previous testing. It's just a repeat of that April 2023 report 2.5 years later. So 2.5 years later, and they tell you, which is fair, I guess, that this is just wordplay. At the request of the Wise County District Attorney's Office, this supplemental report communicates the results using new guidelines implemented on November 28, 2023 involving the addition of verbal scale qualifiers. So they come back around, print the same report, but this time and change it to the likelihood ratio indicates limited support for the proposition that the suspect was excluded. And they don't include the language about how to check, how to find out if this is sperm or not. Probably because they already did the same report on the Y-star. This is the DNA Y-star from September 15, 2025, 2.5 years after the first one. Remember Casada testified she didn't take those swabs. She's not saying this epithelial skin or skin cells, she's not saying it's semen cells. The swabs were taken externally. Unfortunately, we know Tanner undressed with the Tanner covered it in his mouth. This report doesn't tell us anything more than that. I had a brief discussion with Ms. Casada about how little DNA was there. It's an infinitesimally small amount. Every time it got brought up, I tried to object that these were somehow proof of sexual assault. They're just not. The medical examiner's report and the DNA reports. The actual issue, whether or not he's going to be a continuing threat to society. We started our case with Professor Eden, who has actually done research on what matters, what can be predicted, what isn't predicted. Actually looked at Texas inmates who had people testify that they were going to be in future danger. Some of those people were on death row, some had life without parole, some got exonerated. Proving they weren't guilty and they went home. But all of them had people saying that they were going to be in future danger without any research to back it. Now, Professor Eden did say there are things that do matter. If you go to prison the first time between 18 and 21, if you have lower education, you don't have at least a high school diploma or a GED. If you're a member of a gang on the outside or when you get in, there's a higher likelihood that there's going to be violence. And if you've been to prison before, or you've committed violence while you're in, seems like common sense, but we also went through the hard work of researching and teaching people how to look at this. For Tanner, none of those apply. Tanner was 31 when we went to prison. Tanner is not the person you see on the news who's been arrested 31 times and released despite it being violent crimes. This is Tanner's first time. He has his high school diploma. Not a member of a gang, obviously. 2 jails. Plenty of people, female, male, volunteers, at religious meetings.
I had to take this in there with the kitties. I miss today. I don't know what the deal is, dude. He's really not eating much. What are you doing? Hey, dog. Good morning. You can't do that. No. You're so crazy. You're so crazy. You're so crazy. Hey. Sawyer, come on, man. Watch out. Why is that over here? Why is this over here? You're playing with my... Come on, man. You always tear my shit up. Why does it smell like cat food? What's going on with that? Yeah. No. Ah, fucking shit. Damn. Dude. She fucking took off like so strongly. Come here. You're too strong, sweet girl. hurt my finger. Ah, dude. Damn it. I knocked the shit out of it where Frank got me last week in between the finger and the nail. He got me like right in between my finger and my nail right there, and I just banged the hell out of it. Ow. Ow, bro. CP, I really wish you'd stop doing that, rushing the gate like that. There you go, buddy. Good boy. Why can't you be more like Sawyer? Sweet boy. Sawyer, I like how you're trying to eat the dried up food, but the fresh food, I just don't like that as much. Ow, ooh, I knocked it again somehow. I just knocked it up against the fucking tripod. Dude, it's tender as fuck. I knew it was gonna get a little infected. Sweet Pea, I need you to move out of the way. No. Sweet Pea? No, Sweet Pea. Just move out of the way, man. Let me get the food. Sweet Pea? No. Sweet Pea. You want to eat, don't you? Come on. Come here. You want to eat? Come on. Ooh, nice. Today, you haven't been eating very much, bro.
Oh,
I don't know how you're surviving off such little food, dude. What is this, man? What is going on, dude? You're eating like a fourth of your food. Gotta eat, buddy. Gotta eat more.
you gotta eat more, buddy. You gotta eat more. You gotta eat more, buddy.
We got here. We got a Shiloh and a Trident hanging out. Trident's on the chair and Shiloh is on the table, relaxing on the front porch, though. They looking like they're my cats on the front porch. Lots of purple flowers falling from the trees. They're all over the street. Wow. Pretty. I don't know what kind of tree that is, but we have a bunch of them going all the way down our street. They produce purple flowers and they're massive. Got two kitties out there just hanging, waiting. Sweet Pea's drinking some water. Something I never see Sawyer do. Yo, she's still trying to eat while Sawyer's out there just lounging. Shiloh's sunbathing. Trident's in the Sphinx position. I don't know. That can be a bad sign, but hopefully they're alright still. We're not at the 6-day mark yet. She's acting a little weird. Like she's having a hard time breathing. That's usually the position they get in when they can't breathe very well. Shiloh's laying on her side though, chilling. She's, oh, big stretch, big stretch. She stretched while laying down her side, but Trident's in that Sphinx position. Man, I hope she's okay. They're always together. Isn't that a trip? How some cats are like that? Like they're always, well, usually, very seldom are they not together. Watch out, Simon. You can't come in. I'm sorry, buddy. You got this stuff on your ear. I need to bring this out anyway. Hopefully he eats more, but I can't make him gave him more of an adult ratio with that bowl. It was more of a 60-40 adult to kitten. Hoping that would give him more reasonable work. So, no, Geo. How's he doing, man? I was like, where you at, dude? Are you in Nova Scotia? I used to play with this dude that lives in Nova Scotia. We got this case going on right now. I just had to feed the cats. The closing arguments are happening now for the defense. Thank you all for the 2 likes, man. Hell yeah, baby. Can't stop till you get enough. I'm gonna have for the 2 likes. Let me see what I did. Let me see what I did. Look at this. Look at this. This thing was nasty. This glass was nasty. Look at that shit. It came completely clean with that baking soda paste that I put on it. It was like this brownish, just nasty shit. It was like that stuff that's on the metal right there that had splattered on here. I couldn't even see in there anymore, dude. But now I can. Hey. And yesterday I also cleaned the floor. Look at that. I got down with my hands and knees with a scrub brush and some soap and water. You don't need a mop. You just need a hand and a brush and some soap. Yeah, I felt like I was Daniel's son. I was John's son. And Mr. Miyagi was here in spirit. He was with me, coaching me, showing me that I can do anything as long as I put my hand on it. All right, let's go. Wait.
He went to visit them. And transported for his. He went to visit them. The expert. And transported for his. He went to visit them. Transported for his brain scans. Transported between the jails. Transported to court. No write-ups with either group. No write-ups in either jail. Then, yesterday we got to hear someone who's actually putting these kind of ideas into practice. Director Fitzpatrick is in charge of classification. He told you his top priority is public safety. Safety of staff, safety of visitors, safety of inmates. 142,000 inmates plus PDCJ right now. 30,000 employees. 29,000 approved visitors. If all of them were subject to violence, that wouldn't be true. We'd have 29,000 volunteers. Director Fitzpatrick told you he uses evidence-based practices to classify people to determine where to house them based on their needs but number one, based on safety. It's a holistic approach, looking at medical, looking at mental health, looking at history, criminology, trying to rehabilitate there's drug issues, trying to do vocational training, do education, all those things that would hold you back and might bring you back to prison. But 50,000 out, 56,000 in. He's thinking about that all the time. Individual treatment plans, rehabilitation. Complete medical and mental health workups before they do the classifications to know what they need, where they're going to need to be housed. 34 facilities that all have different ways to house them. There's a classification profile for each inmate that's constantly updated. Incentive program. They try to make like parole is the only incentive. It's not. Where you're housed, whether you can work, freedom to move about. Those are all incentives. Remember I told you, yes, this is a society, but it's not our society. This society has 24/7 security. It has trained staff, appropriate screening for the visitors. I know it sounds like they're walking around there. No, mass movement is when a group of people have a place to be, and they have to be moving to where they're supposed to be. Otherwise, individually, you have to have that pass and be going where you're supposed to be going. It's not a free-for-all. And ultimately, their expert said they have a reasonable and effective way to house someone who's been sentenced to life without parole while ensuring the safety of the public, the staff, the visitors, and inmates. Did have one point of contention. Tanner's friend Jamarius testified. And I will tell you, I've had a lot of cases where someone was supposed to testify. That was in the jail with my client. It's the first time it's ever happened. I'm glad I did. I found him interesting. But he disagreed with Director Fitzpatrick that there are predators and prey in prison. He said there are wolves and sheep. And to his face, he kind of had to describe his friend Tanner as an itty-bitty little baby lamb. He's trying to prepare him for what he's moving into. But you've heard what a struggle that is.
That's why he needs to not go to Gin Bob, because if he goes to Gin Bob, then he's gonna be, he's gonna be regretting being there probably. I mean, I can't even imagine the torment they're gonna put him through if they're able to get him in Gin Bob. They're chomping. They're like, yeah, give him to us. Oh yeah.
Believe any reason. You see him with your own eyes. The state played all these videos for you. You've seen what Tanner's like around authority figures.
He would definitely be a lame
around
dude.
security. You can see how threatening they thought he was. The arrest video, completely compliant, no resistance, does exactly what they tell him. He asked about maybe moving his cuffs because they were uncomfortable. They just took his cuffs off. Don't worry about him. Standing there, I'm drawing on the board, they're standing right next to him. I don't even do that always with all of my clients.
Yeah, but they had a gun on them probably. And if they don't, there's somebody right around the corner that's got it. They know he's already been searched for weapons, and there's no way he's going to be able to kill them with his bare hands. So, I mean, it's a little different than saying that they don't see him as a danger to society, isn't it?
Because you never know. I have some that are dangerous. Tanner's not. They stood right beside him. Nobody was worried.
That's because
Drove him around.
He's also not a very strong person. Like, you definitely can't do a pull-up. You probably can't even do a fucking push-up. If I can't do a... Motherfucker would not be able to even go to boot camp probably. Because they'd be like, yo, you gotta... Your physical standards aren't even good enough to join the military right now. I wonder if he ever tried that.
Looking for Athena. No incidents. They put him in the front seat. stood outside chatting with him about Waffle House, smoking a cigarette. Nobody worried. And while I tried to give you evidence, the state played those videos for you. Ultimately, the burden's on them. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Tanner Horner is going to be a continuing threat to society in a prison setting with this classification, G3,
Oh, so it's mainly for in prison.
with their constant workouts,
Okay.
with many housing options they have, that he's going to be a continuing threat to society, and he just isn't. So that's where we come back to that oath that you all took to follow the law. And this is the law. The law isn't that you get the death sentence, because that capital murder was worse than the other capital murders. They're all terrible. This one is terrible. But he will spend the rest of his life in prison for it.
Sanderson.
Good morning. I'm here to talk to you about special issue number 2. I promise you I'm not going to sit up here and rehash the experts' testimony. You have the reports, you have their notes, you heard what they said from the witness stand. I'm also not going to stand up here and rehash all the evidence. You heard the evidence. And if you have questions about what the evidence showed, you have the absolute right to come, to knock on that door and ask the judge, hey, we have a question about that evidence. But when it comes to special issue number 2, we're talking about the mitigation aspect of it. And we only get to special issue number 2 if each and every one of you has decided that the state has proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt that Tanner Horner is a continuing threat to society. Only if all 12 of you agree will we even get to this part. But in order to understand this, in order to understand the importance of mitigation, especially in this case, you have to understand child development. Because understanding how a child develops is key to understanding the man Tanner is today, but also the person that was in that van on November 30th of 2022. Tanner's problems began before he was even born. And we know that child development begins in utero. So Tanner's mother drank alcohol heavily during that first 8-week period of her pregnancy. We also know that she smoked cigarettes. We also know that she smoked marijuana. And the result in this case was a diagnosis of fetal alcohol syndrome disorder. Now, FASD is a neurodevelopmental disorder that is characterized by emotional dysregulation, cognitive impairments, problem-solving abilities, and other issues. Now, how do we know that FASD is a valid diagnosis? It was supported by the testing. It was supported by imaging. You have the reports, you can read those. The fact that he was diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome disorder is uncontroverted. There are several phases to child development. We know that it begins in utero, but once you're born, you have to learn to explore your own world. Now, where does this happen? When a child is born, their parents are the world. From your parents, you learn love, you learn safety, you learn security. But what happens to a child that doesn't have all of those? Now, again, it's undisputed that his mother loved him very much. But did she have the ability to provide security? Did she have the ability to provide safety? She didn't. During this crucial part of his development, rather than providing him that security and safety, what did his mother do? Left a 10-month-old child, baby, with a 10-year-old cousin to babysit. Not just for a few hours, not just late into the evening, but overnight, and for multiple days at a time. Now, the babysitter, even at that young age, realized that something was just a little off with Tanner. He wasn't like the other kids. One minute he was running around like the Tasmanian devil, and at other times he would put himself in timeout and face the corner and be still. But the other thing she noticed is he liked to eat coins. She had to put him up on the shelf so he could not get to these coins. He loved to eat coins and then go to the bathroom, poop them out, and then try to fish them out and do it all over again.
What?
She had to hide the change because he was his own ATM machine.
That's
And that's
disgusting.
important because, according to the experts, that was also indicative of ADHD. Also, during this critical time period of development, his mother was in and out of the picture all the time. We know that she had her own issues. We know that she was in and out of jail. We know that she was in and out of drug rehab facilities. But that impeded Tanner's ability to have attachments. And Dr. Brahms talked to you about the importance of having a parent with whom you can form attachments. She talked about how important it was to have a parent from whom you can learn your coping skills. She talked about the importance of having a parent who could help bond and shape their behaviors. We didn't have this with Tanner's mother. She's a brave woman in many respects. She was brave enough to recognize that she could not provide for her son in the way that she wanted to. She had the desire, she did not have the ability. So she did the most heartbreaking thing that I think a parent could ever do, and that is give up her son to her mother to raise. And that was a very brave thing to do because she knew that Tanner would be loved by the grandmother and would be safe while she went to go to rehab to get clean. She also knew that she had legal problems and spent a good time in jail as well. Socialization. It's the next phase of childhood development. Socialization occurs when children are learning, basically how to navigate the world. And you look at it like when you're a baby and you're a child, again, your parents are your world, your crib is your environment, you have the safety of the confines of your own home, and then you go to pre-K, and then you go to daycare, and your world changes. It's a whole new environment. You don't have that safety net of your mom sitting next to you. You don't have that safety net of your wubby around with you. You have new experiences, new people, new things coming at you from all over the place. And if you are not equipped with the skills to navigate and to socialize, then that can impede your development. So we know that his grandmother had enrolled Tanner into daycare, Miss Diana's.
Dude, his parents really fucked him up, dude. Honestly.
For the first
Any
time,
fucking help from them.
Tanner had the opportunity to really socialize with children of that age outside of the home and outside of the family. But what happened at Miss Diana's? Well, Jackie watched as her only grandson tried to play with the other kids and was rejected. Tried to have conversations and was rebuffed. He tried to make friends, but he wasn't able to, and eventually he would just go sit on his own. That was when it was suggested that Tanner get tested. And what was the result? That was when the family learned Tanner had Asperger's. Jackie and Melissa took their son to a clinic in Fort Worth. And it was there that they got the answer that they had been seeking. Why is my grandson different? Why is my son different? They knew he was different. But just looking at him, can you really tell? But
Yeah.
they knew he was just a little off, so
I can
they
tell.
took him in. Now, Asperger's is another neurodevelopmental
You
disorder
probably could
that's
tell when he was a
characterized
kid.
by communication issues and social interaction difficulties. Now, all of those you can see at Miss Diana's when you try to play with the kids. Now, Asperger's is not curable. Once you have Asperger's, you will always have Asperger's. You may learn some coping skills and some techniques to control the symptoms. You might learn how to have good eye contact.
Maybe go see
You might
what's
learn
going
how
on
to
outside.
engage. You might.
Simon, I really wish you were eating more this morning. I gotta put you up already. I know, I don't like it either. Oh, but at least they're 10 pounds. I need to stream. I need to read my number nine. Calls are cold. I don't like that. Calls are pretty cold. We got 3 customers waiting patiently for their food. Fluffy, Frank,
Learn how to-
and Penelope.
Do other things to help mask your symptoms. But at the end of the day, you still have Asperger's. And now Asperger's today falls under the autism spectrum disorder. So, based on this diagnosis of the Asperger's, the ASD, Tanner received special services in school. And you met the school psychologist who confirmed the diagnosis. You met the 5th grade teacher who talked about the difficulties that Tanner was having in school. And you also met the speech pathologist who helped him. The next phase of development is what was described as the mastery of one's own environment. Now, mastery of your environment is the capacity to effectively manage our lives. And it teaches us how to manage our surroundings. That's when we learn. But it's difficult to manage your life and manage your surroundings when you have no stability in the home. And again, it goes back to the fact that Melissa was in and out of the house. Melissa had not custody of Tanner. He bounced between schools. He bounced between homes. He bounced between caregivers. He even bounced between rehab facilities with his mother. That is not stability. He moved out of the safety and security of his grandmother's home into a drug rehab facility. And where was his dad during all of this?
Prison.
Well, we knew that his father had legal problems. We knew that his father was an addict. We knew that his father was in and out of his life as much as his mother was, if not more. But during this phase of development, that was when one of the worst things that had happened to Tanner occurred. When he was 10 years old, he and his mother were living on a farm, and he and his cousin set fire. They were playing, and this fire got out of control, Well, his mother did the right thing, sent him down to the landlord to apologize for what had happened. So rather than accepting the apology and saying, no harm, no foul, I'm so glad you did this, thank you for apologizing, what did the landlord do? He anally raped Tanner. All because he accidentally set fire to a field.
What the fuck? I don't remember that part.
And we know that the records reflect that he had issues in school during that time period. The medical records reflect that he had issues with hemorrhoids and constipation. All of those are indicative of that type of trauma. We also know that he had difficulty admitting that and talking about it to the experts that were involved in this case. And that's not uncommon either. So after having suffered that trauma, Tanner transitioned into middle school, where he was still receiving services. Now again, you met with or you heard from the in-home facilitator who tried to teach him social skills. And he was responding, did a great job. She loved hanging out with him, loved taking him out into the community, loved watching him develop. But she also talked to you about how difficult it was at home because as much as Jackie loved him, she just wasn't getting it. As much as Bill loved him, his grandfather, he just wasn't getting it. As much as his mother loved him, she still wasn't getting it. And she and Melissa and Bill, none of them were allowed to continue with it. None of them followed through with any of the lessons that the in-home facilitator taught. And she said, he still needs them. But the school decided they were going to discontinue the services. Now, during your adolescence, you learn from Dr. Brahms that identity begins to form. And we shape our own identities. Remember back in high school where you experimented with different friends, different cliques, different hairdos, different clothes styles, looking for who you are and trying to find who you are. This stage of development is especially difficult for one who has level 1 autism. Why is that? Because just looking at somebody, you can't tell if they're level 1 autistic. But the thing is, they know they're a little different. They know they're a little off. They know that they just don't quite fit in. They start to see themselves as an outcast. Start hanging out with other people that they identify with, other outcasts, and it becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy. When we talk about identity, we have to ask ourselves, what is it like to be Tanner Horner? And Tanner described himself as being an android when everybody else is an apple. And he feels like a robot, but that defaults to human emotions. And that's important because it shows that he recognizes that he's just a little different, but so wants to fit in. The other thing that Dr. Brahms talked about was how important it is to have someone in your life during this critical phase that can encourage you, that can recognize your successes, give you that positive feedback that you want and that you need. He didn't have any of this. Again, he had a mother who loved him, but she was struggling with her own issues, the legal problems, the drug addiction, her own personal trauma. He had a grandmother who loved him, but she was also struggling with her own personal traumas, the traumas that she herself suffered, the traumas that were inflicted upon her daughter that she harbored such guilt for. She also had her own physical health to contend with. The last phase of childhood development that we learned about was emancipation into adulthood. And that's where we talk about where we have developed coping skills to become the integrated adult that we are. Now, what do we mean by an integrated adult? Well, that means that be able to absorb what is around you and take that in and make your decisions based upon what you've learned. No one at home taught him how to do this. He had no coping skills. His default became avoidance. He avoided everything. He deflected to music, to anime, to movies. And he never learned to deal properly with the stressors in his life. So, we talked about interventions. And it's no doubt that Tanner had a lot of interventions. He had the speech pathologist during middle school. He had the content mastery teacher in high school. He had Beth. He had a fifth grade teacher helping out. But remember what you need is that if you don't continue with these interventions, you lose it. He didn't have anybody at home who could help him use it, and so he just kind of fall off. And it's also important to note that high school content mastery, it was available to everybody, and it really did work for him. It helped him graduate. Now, granted, he graduated in the bottom 5% of his class, but he went on to graduate.
Damn.
After he graduated,
More than
he kind of drifted from band to band, from job to job, to the mother of his child. They fell in love, moved in together, they had a child.
Did I not?
But moving in and having a fiance and having a
Maybe they
baby isn't the same as settling down. They moved around a lot. They still have.
Bro, I gotta fucking go in there and do the litter box, man. Damn it, man. My sweet pea's right there, ready to escape. Is there a problem here? Is there? Excuse me. And Sawyer hasn't eaten a lick, has he, since I left? I can't tell, actually. He might have eaten a little bit of it. There still needs to be more, though. More needs to be eaten, Sawyer. Oh, buddy. Hey, you. Baby girl. Oh my gosh, look at this mess he made back there. And look at how pretty your fur is. Oh my goodness. Pretty fur. Yeah, baby. 2 motherfucking peppers. Look how that sweet meat's tracking it. Ah, yeah. Oh wow, y'all really got stuck in the corner here. Amazing. CB. Man. Oh, God, dude, you got it all gooped up over here. Why do you have to get to the very bottom, bro? Is
that really necessary, sweetie? I know it's you doing it. Oh wait, okay, now, yeah, I'm just gonna leave this here and go feed him real fast. That's all I have to do now. Take the trash out, feed him. Here I go. Cat Savior. At your service. Cat Savior at your service. Cat Savior at your service.
Sorry, I also had to do my new closing all the dumpsters ritual. Because there are 3 dumpsters in the alley, the people just like to leave wide open. So now I have a new thing now where I get to go close those every morning. Yeah. Okay. You want less flies, that's all. What, I think that it might help with cutting back on the flies if we at least close the dumpsters in the alley, right? Don't you think that would help? I think it would help. We're gonna try it out this summer. We're gonna give that a whirl. We're gonna whirl it. We're gonna whirly bird it. Shiloh's here. Hey Shiloh. Shiloh. I don't know which side it went though. You're not supposed to be there. Hey, you're too close. You're cute meow. No, Shiloh, you're too close. No. All right. I was out there hunting for butterflies. I felt kind of bad for the. At first, I was like, "Oh, Sally's hunting for bugs. That's good. She's still active. That means she's like, not. I'm not overfeeding her because she's willing to, right after eating, trying to go after a bug to eat. Probably not to just play with it. We're probably gonna eat it, right? But that's kind of sad when it's a butterfly, even when it's not a monarch. Still a butterfly, dude. That's a bummer to see the cat go after a butterfly. But they're gonna do that. So they're gonna do it. That's easy prey for them compared to other bugs, probably. Damn, because they land and they just kind of chill and they're super obvious. Dang it! I wish I would have seen that. The circle of life. That's one thing people don't think about, that like stray cats eat a lot of. Ferals eat even more of them as bugs. Yeah, cats eat bugs.
A lot of chaos in their lives. They bounce between.
Oh, you didn't have to stop eating because I. Damn it, Simon. All right, well that's all you get. Shoot. Like literally the second I pressed that button and he heard that audio playing, he ceased just to eat. Younger this afternoon, no, that's for damn sure. He ate hardly anything this morning, though, compared to what he normally eats. This is almost a full fucking second can. He's been almost getting done with the second. That's cool, though, because I think he's actually been eating too much too early. Maybe he'll space it out a little bit today more. We shall see. It's not the end of the world. They're gonna have their off days, Mondays. Maybe something else hurts now that didn't hurt yesterday. We had a problem getting the stills in him last night, so maybe something happened with that. His mouth or his throat. Man, I'm in shock. Every time I look over here at this air fryer, I am in shock at how clean it got the glass just from using water and baking soda, dude. It got all that caked on, burnt on grease off, dude. It's amazing. Baking soda and water. You know, like all these products you can buy to get your oven clean. No, all you really need is that. And it's probably a lot less toxic too. I mean, it's got to be. It doesn't matter if it's like, if there's some left behind in the cracks and shit. Who gives a shit? It's baking soda. You know, there's some there in the crack. I don't care. I would care though if that was like an oven cleaning product. I wouldn't want that lingering around and off-gassing into my food and shit. Alright, so we just currently, oh yeah, I got food to get over here. This Friday didn't come. She could come, so I'm gonna leave this out now. See what. So 37 grams. I kind of got them on a diet too. All right. So we got Shiloh, Fluffy, Frank, and Penelope fed outside. We got Simon, Horace, and Sawyer. And Sweet Pea. And Sawyer is still giving me a hard time on eating. Not eating like as much as he really should be. So he's still in the cage right now. I think I'm gonna have to invest in one of those cat feeders that run off a chip. That way I don't have to keep him caged like this, and we can try something different. I'm going to spend hundreds of dollars to do it though, to get the one that Sweet Pea can't get into. And so, but I don't know. It's all I can think of to try now. Is he'll be the only one that has a chip feeder, and see how that works. It's like $200-300 for these damn things though, with all the accessories I'll have to get, because I'll need to get the stuff that makes it so it's ultra secure. Because Sweet Pea, you already know she'll try to be looking for any way possible to get in there. She'll be trying to eat next to him.
With friends, they had their own apartment, all these different things. So there was still chaos in the life. They also had financial difficulties. We know that the mother's job was suffering from
good. What looks
postpartum
good?
issues. She wasn't able to work, wasn't able to keep the
I'm
house.
sorry. What? Oh, the glass, right? Isn't that amazing, dude? Have you ever done that? Have you ever used baking soda paste, let it sit, and then I used a toothbrush and just worked it, dude. I just worked it, kept working it, work, and it just eventually started just coming off. Such a cheap, easy fix, man. Dude, before the internet, you know, we would just assume that I would, because I was a moron, that I needed some cleaning product. I need Ajax, or I need some, the scrubbing bubbles or something. I mean, isn't that crazy? all you need is bleach water oftentimes, or baking soda and water, or vinegar and water to clean. And all that other shit is like just a waste of money, and it's more toxic. We had this stuff all along to clean with. Why did we start making all this other crap that has this stuff in it also? It's interesting. Because it would clean 10 minutes faster versus 30, maybe.
Able to do all the things that she wanted to do, except to go out and party. And we know that that's what they did, even though they were trying to save money to buy a place of their own. So Tanner was trying to be the only breadwinner, keep his fiance happy.
Like another thing, like yesterday, it didn't take me that long. Just get on the floor with this brush right here, this brush, a little small cat litter pail, and just a couple pumps of this dish soap, fragrance-free, plant-based, like non-toxic, cruelty-free, max clean. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit of this in there, on the floor, scrubbing it up, wiping it up, and boom. No need for some weird smelling floral fucking Lysol or any of that. You just need the soap and water to clean shit, dude. Why do we have all these other products? Oh, this is for the floor. Yeah, look at that. I guess some of them have like wax in them to make it a little shiny or something. Maybe make them less prone to get dirty as fast.
Save up to get the place of their own. So they never could seem to get ahead.
But we have too many products on the market, I feel like, especially cleaning products, when all you really need is soap and water, baking soda, vinegar, rubbing alcohol, and bleach, and maybe even acetone or ammonia if something's weird. If you got something weird.
Issues. And then the car that they had broke down, so
or like a petroleum-based product like naphtha or gasoline even, or lacquer thinner, paint thinner. Like we have all of these products that are basic molecules, or pretty much, right? I think, or they're, yeah. I think paint thinner and lacquer thinner, those are molecules, right? They're not concoctions. They're not like multiple molecule made concoctions that we feel the need to have to make things just a little bit faster.
had to get a new car. Kept rolling and rolling and rolling, and his boss came in and gave him $1,100. But that also added another layer of stress, because now Tanner had to work 6 days a week in order to pay that $150 a week back. When he took the job at FedEx, he thought that would give him some stability in life. That's what he was hoping. And for a while it did. They still had the money problems, and they were working through all of that. But he had the root nasal. That's where he grew up. He knew those streets. He was able to do his roots without issue. And then his route got changed. Added another layer of stress. Another layer of stress that he was not able to cope with. When the route changed, the anxiety increased. New routes, new roads, new people, new routine. And that's what led up to this offense.
I don't know about that, lady. I mean,
You don't forget me. You don't. Because on November the 30th, 2022, Tanner did something that changed the lives of all of us. Every single person in this room has been affected by Tanner's actions. On that day, Tanner delivered the packages to Christine's house, Barbie's. And he got out, delivered the package, decided to snort a little cocaine because he had had insomnia. insomnia, was tired, was, had all these other issues. And she saw him, and he thought that she was going to tell on him. And if she told, he would lose his job. If he lost his job, he would lose his car. If he lost his car, he wouldn't be able to have transportation for the baby. If he didn't have transportation for the baby, something could happen, he couldn't do this. It just kept snowballing in his mind.
I don't know about that, dude.
And there was no planning. There was no premeditation. There was no preparation. He kept hearing about all of these stickies being put on the lens cover. But let me ask you this. If you were planning to abduct a child, would you cover the lens cap before you did it or after you did it?
It depends on how retarded
It
you
doesn't
are.
make sense, and that's where their assertions
kinda
fall
retarded.
apart. It does make sense that he would have covered a lens cap to hide the fact that he was vaping weed. It does make sense that he would hide the lens
dude.
cap or cover the camera lens if he was snorting some cocaine.
Yeah.
It does make sense that he would do all of that, but it doesn't make sense that he would wait until after she was in the van to cover the lens cap. All of
And
this
see,
was
and it even does
on
make
video
sense
and
that he
all.
would,
And like I said, there's
like,
not.
if he was on a new route, maybe he saw that road as being like this easy, like, there were probably like maybe it was an easy spot to smoke weed or something and get away with it. Not have to worry about other drivers or people on the side of the road seeing you. Maybe it was like desolate back there or something. That's why, because it does kind of make sense that he would do that. I'm in kind of like disbelief that FedEx subcontractors aren't drug tested before they're hired. Was he not using any kind of drugs before he got hired? Maybe he didn't.
A person in this room that heard that was not deeply affected by that.
You know, that's
all-
highly fucking. I don't like it. You know what I mean? These are people that are delivering sometimes one of one packages to where if they fuck it up, yeah, sure, you got insurance on it, but that one of one is gone now. Could be something fragile or whatever. I feel like there was a time when the people that we had delivering our mail were some of the most trustworthy people in our society. When you look at the origination of the Postal Service with the what were they called? They were on horseback. What was that organization called? The first Postal Service. Oh wait. Oh, it looks like the United Kingdom had the first Postal Service in USA.